before thrones were built and crowns were worn, before kingdoms rose and fell, they were the goddesses, keepers of love, guardians of destiny. In the heart of Africa, their names whispered through rivers, echoed in the earth, and danced in the songs of women and men who knew that life itself depended on them. These were not distant deities locked away in the heavens. They walked among their people, in the flowing waters of the Yoruba rivers, where ocean laughed with beauty and honey, in the sacred earth of the Igbo, where Allah judged love as covenant, in the Akan fields where Asaseya blessed the fertility of the soil and the union of lovers. To the Kongo peoples, they shimmered as spirits of water and serpents, weaving the fate of marriages, births, and oaths. To the Nile Valley, they appeared in Hathor's music, in Mahat's truth, binding not only lovers but the entire cosmos together. Across Africa, love was never something fragile, left to chance or whim. Love was a force of nature, commanded by these goddesses, guarded by their power, and respected in ritual. And destiny? Destiny was not a random path. It was a map written in the heavens, witnessed by Orunmila, guided by Ori, and enforced by the goddesses who demanded balance. Even in the darkest chapters of history, when Africans were scattered across the seas, their memory endured. Oshun became Ezuli in Haiti, Yamaya rose from the oceans of Cuba and Brazil, and the heartbeat of love and destiny continued in Vodou, in Candomblé, in Santeria. This is not just mythology, this is the soul of Africa speaking, reminding us that wealth, kingdoms, and empires may crumble, but love and destiny remain eternal. So today we journey across the continent, through rivers, temples, and sacred groves to uncover the African goddesses of love and destiny. Their stories are not just tales of beauty and romance, they are lessons of power, justice, fertility, and balance. They are the laws that bound families, protected children, and shaped nations. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to discover will not only change the way you see Africa's past, it will challenge how you see your own destiny. In Yoruba cosmology, few figures shine with as much allure and enduring influence as Oshun, the river goddess of love, fertility, diplomacy, and beauty. She is not merely a goddess of romance, as many outside the tradition mistakenly assume, but a cosmic force whose presence ensures the very balance of creation itself. Oshun is associated with rivers, honey, sweetness, and the art of seduction. But her power goes far deeper than charm. She represents diplomacy in its highest form, the ability to soothe fiery disputes and transform conflict into cooperation. One of the most well-known stories tells of how the fiery male Orishas, consumed by rivalry and pride, threatened to tear apart the delicate harmony of the universe. It was Ocean's sweet waters, her gentle yet irresistible influence, that cooled their tempers and restored balance. Without her intervention, creation itself would have faltered. This tale illustrates how Ocean embodies not only attraction and sensuality, but also wisdom, diplomacy, and the indispensable role of the feminine in maintaining cosmic order. Ocean's connection to rivers and flowing water also symbolized her role as the bringer of fertility and abundance. Just as rivers nourish the land, her presence nourishes human life, ensuring families thrive and communities flourish. Her worshippers offer honey, mirrors, and dances along the riverbanks to invoke her blessings, believing that she opens the way for love, children, and prosperity. Yet Oshun's gifts are never unconditional. She is known to be both benevolent and demanding. To neglect her or to disrespect the feminine essence she embodies is to invite chaos into one's life. This duality, sweetness paired with stern justice, reminds us that love in the Yoruba worldview is not trivial emotion, but sacred power, deserving of reverence. While Oshun governs love and fertility, the Yoruba understanding of destiny is deeply tied to Orunmila, the Orisha of wisdom and divination. Orunmila is described as the witness to destiny, the one who stood present when each soul knelt before Olodumare, the Supreme Being, to choose their path before descending to earth. Because of this, Orunmila possesses knowledge of every individual's life course, past, present, and future. Through the sacred practice of Ife divination, he guides humans back to alignment with their chosen destinies, revealing where they have strayed and what sacrifices or actions are required to return to balance. Central to Yoruba thought is the concept of Ori, literally translated as head, but more profoundly understood as the spiritual essence of destiny. The Ori is believed to be the seat of one's personal fate, chosen in the heavenly realm before birth. It is not merely a part of a person, but their truest self, the inner compass that carries divine purpose. Honoring one's Ori is considered more important than honoring any other Orisha, for even Oshun and Orunmila cannot override the destiny a soul has chosen. In practice, this means that Yoruba people see success, failure, love, and marriage not as accidents or random events, but as intricately tied to the alignment of one's Ori. Marriage, for example, is not viewed only as a union of hearts, but as a fulfillment of destiny. A person's Ori may guide them toward a partner whose spiritual path aligns with their own, ensuring that their shared destiny will be fruitful. This is why divination often plays a central role in Yoruba marriage traditions, as families seek confirmation that a union is not only emotionally satisfying, but cosmically ordained. Love, therefore, becomes more than passion or companionship. It becomes a sacred covenant that strengthens and fulfills one's divine purpose on earth. Oshun blesses such unions with sweetness and fertility, while Orunmila ensures that they are in harmony with destiny. The interplay between Oshun and Orunmila reveals the Yoruba vision of life as a balance between love and faith, sweetness and wisdom, passion and order. Oshun provides the emotional and spiritual vitality that sustains relationships and communities, while Orunmila ensures that all is aligned with the destiny inscribed in one's Ori. Together, they remind us that love without destiny may falter, and destiny without love may grow cold. It's the merging of both forces that produces a life of fulfillment, harmony, and abundance. In the diaspora, Oshun's influence continues powerfully in traditions such as Santeria in Cuba and Candomblé in Brazil, where she is honored as a mother of fertility and love. Her dances, offerings, and songs survive across oceans, evidence of how deeply she remains woven into African consciousness. Orunmila too remains central, with priests of Ifa still guiding individuals to their destinies through divination and spiritual counsel. Across centuries of enslavement, displacement, and oppression, the Yoruba people and their descendants preserve the sacred truth that love and destiny are not chance encounters, but divine gifts woven together by the Orishas. The Yoruba teachings of Oshun, Orunmila, and Ori invite us to reimagine the meaning of love and destiny in our own lives. They challenge us to see love as more than desire, as a covenant that restores balance to the world. They teach us that destiny is not an inescapable chain, but a sacred agreement chosen in freedom that can be honored or neglected. To live well is to align with both, to let ocean's sweet waters nourish us, while following the wisdom of Orunmila and the guidance of our Ori. This balance, celebrated for centuries in Yoruba tradition, is what transforms human existence into a work of divine harmony. In the heart of Igbo cosmology stands Allah, also called Ani, the great Earth Mother, whose presence is as vast as the land itself and whose influence extends into every part of life. She is not only the goddess of fertility and agriculture, but also the guardian of morality, justice, and human destiny. To the Igbo, Allah is the ground beneath their feet, the soil that nurtures crops, and the womb from which all life springs. Every seed planted, every marriage sealed, every oath taken is done under her watchful eye. She is at once nurturing and severe, providing abundance when honored and unleashing punishment when her laws are broken. Allah is more than a goddess of love and fertility. She is the embodiment of balance and truth, the moral compass of her people. In Igbo society, Allah presides over procreation and family harmony, ensuring that unions between men and women are sanctified not only by human agreement, but also by divine approval. Marriage in her domain is not a mere personal arrangement, but a covenant woven into the cosmic order. Couples were traditionally required to honor Allah through offerings and rituals, acknowledging that their union was part of a larger cycle of life and community. The fertility of the womb and the fertility of the land were seen as inseparable, both gifts flowing from the Earth Mother's grace. In this way, love and marriage were deeply bound to destiny, and Allah served as the mediator who ensured that human passion aligned with ancestral will and natural law. Central to Allah's authority is her role as the goddess of morality and truth. She governs through the sacred principles of Ofo na Ogu, symbols of justice and innocence in Igbo tradition. Ofo is the staff of truth, held by elders and priests as a sign of righteousness, while Ogu represents innocence and moral purity. Together, they embody the assurance that one who stands in truth will be vindicated, while those who transgress divine law will be judged. Allah oversees this entire system, ensuring that love, family, and destiny unfold within the boundaries of justice. A marriage entered through deceit or violence would never prosper, for it violated her laws. A life lived in dishonor would find no peace in the ancestral world, for it had broken the covenant with the Earth Mother. Through Allah, morality was not abstract, it was embodied in the soil, in fertility, and in every relationship that humans formed with each other and with the land. Though Allah governs the daily rhythms of morality and fertility, she does not stand alone in shaping destiny. The supreme god Chukwu or Chineke is understood in Igbo cosmology as the ultimate source of life and fate. Chukwu grants each soul its spark and sets in motion the course it will take. Yet while Chukwu may decree destiny in the heavens, it is Allah who channels that destiny into the tangible reality of earth. She is the interpreter and enforcer of divine will, ensuring that cosmic law takes root in human lives. Without her, destiny would remain distant and untouchable. With her, it becomes the air we breathe and the ground we walk upon. In this sense, love and destiny in Igbo thought are inseparable from the earth itself. To marry, to bring forth children, to till the land, and to live honorably are all sacred acts of alignment with Allah. Love is not defined by fleeting desire, but by covenant, a covenant that binds individuals not only to each other, but also to their ancestors and to the soil of their homeland. A marriage is therefore never only between two people, it is a pact between families witnessed by ancestors and sanctioned by Allah. The land becomes a silent participant in the vows, holding the memory of the promises made and the children born of that union. This profound intertwining of morality, fertility, and destiny is what made Allah so central to Igbo life. In her, love was sacred duty, destiny was tangible, and justice was ever present. To honor her was to ensure prosperity, peace, and continuity. To defy her was to invite barrenness, conflict, or misfortune. She was, in essence, the ground of being, a reminder that human love and destiny are never isolated affairs, but part of the greater covenant between people, ancestors, and the earth. Today, even as many Igbo people follow Christianity or other faiths, Allah's presence lingers in cultural memory and practices. The reverence for land, the importance of ancestral ties, the emphasis on truth and justice in family life, all echoes her enduring influence. She reminds us that love cannot thrive without truth, that destiny cannot unfold without justice, and that fertility, whether of the land, the womb, or the spirit, depends on honoring the sacred covenant with the earth. Allah stands as one of Africa's most profound goddesses, embodying the eternal truth that love, morality, and destiny are one. In the cosmology of the Akan and Ashanti people of West Africa, destiny is never left to chance, and love is never treated as a fleeting emotion. At the center of this spiritual framework stands Asase Ya, the great earth goddess, whose presence is both nurturing and formidable. She is the embodiment of fertility, growth, and life itself, and she holds authority over the soil that yields crops and over the womb that brings forth children. To the Akan, she is the mother of all living things, the divine power who sustains existence through her bounty. But Asase Ya is not only about nurturing, she's also the moral custodian of truth and justice. She ensures that human relationships, especially love and marriage, align with cosmic balance. Her authority makes her indispensable in rituals, for no covenant of love could be complete without her blessing. Marriage in Akan culture has always been more than a union between two individuals. It is an institution bound by ancestral approval and divine sanction. Couples were expected to honor Asase Ya before entering marriage, acknowledging her as the witness and guarantor of their bond. This was often done through libations and prayers offered directly to the earth, asking her to bless the union with fertility, peace, and longevity. Without Asase Ya's acknowledgement, marriage risked disharmony, infertility, or misfortune. Her presence thus sanctified the covenant, reminding couples that their love was part of a larger cosmic structure that included the ancestors, the land, and the unborn generations yet to come. Through her, love was elevated from personal desire to sacred responsibility. This responsibility extended into the Akan understanding of destiny, or Nkrabia. The Akan believed that each soul comes into the world carrying its divine purpose, given by the Supreme Being, Nyame. Yet this destiny could not be fulfilled in isolation. It had to be nurtured within the balance of family, community, and the earth itself. Asase Ya played a crucial role in this process, for she ensured that the divine order written into each person's life was harmonized with human choices and ancestral will. Destiny was not an abstract idea. It was woven into daily life, grounded in rituals, and sealed by the Earth Mother's authority. The role of the ancestors on Samanfo was also central in Akan thought. They were considered ever-present guides who continued to shape the destinies of the living. Marriages, births, and major life decisions were undertaken not only for personal fulfillment but also to honor ancestral continuity. The ancestors watched over these unions and judged whether they aligned with divine order. Asase Ya served as the bridge between human beings and their ancestors, holding the earth as sacred space where ancestral spirits and the living could connect. When couples honored her, they were not only seeking blessings for themselves, but also reaffirming their bond with those who came before them. This interconnectedness meant that love in Akan society was never a matter of private passion alone. It was a sacred covenant that tied individuals to their ancestors, their community, and their future descendants. Love was responsibility, and marriage was destiny in action. Asase Ya's role in this covenant was indispensable, for she was the one who ensured that the bond of love did not violate the laws of truth, fertility, or justice. Her blessing made marriages fruitful. That displeasure could bring barrenness or discord, she was at once gentle as the nurturing soil and firm as the unyielding ground that demands respect. Even today, her influence lingers in Akan traditions, where rituals of libation are still poured onto the earth before major events, and her authority as the mother of truth and fertility remains acknowledged. Asase Ya reminds us that love is not only romance but covenant, and destiny is not only fate but responsibility. She teaches that true harmony comes when human choices align with ancestral guidance and divine order. Through Asase Ya, the Akan people preserved a worldview where love, fertility, morality, and destiny were inseparable. She embodies the truth that human relationships cannot stand apart from the earth that sustains them or from the ancestors who paved the way. Love was covenant, destiny was balance, and the Earth Mother was the guardian of both. In the traditions of the Kongo and Central African peoples, love and destiny were never viewed as fragile accidents or fleeting passions, but as matters deeply bound to spiritual law and cosmic balance. Central to this understanding were the river and serpent spirits, collectively known as Mbumba. These feminine entities were guardians of marriage and faith, weaving the threads of relationships between individuals, families, and communities. To encounter Mbumba was to face the mystery of water itself, nurturing yet unpredictable, life-giving yet dangerous. She was invoked in matters of marriage, for the people believed that her serpentine nature allowed her to see into hidden truths, whether a union was destined to flourish or doomed to fail. By blessing marriages, she ensured that love was not only a personal affair, but an alignment with the flow of cosmic destiny. To anger her, however, was to risk instability, betrayal, or the dissolution of bonds that should have remained sacred. The imagery of water and serpents in the Kongo region carried profound symbolic weight. Rivers were not only physical lifelines for communities, but also spiritual highways connecting the living to the ancestral world. Serpent spirits like Mbumba represented the cycles of continuity, transformation, and eternal return. Within marriage and love, they were invoked to bind couples together with fidelity and truth. Offerings at riverbanks and sacred waters were common, where families seeking prosperity in unions appealed to Mbumba to strengthen affection, fertility, and loyalty. The serpentine spirit was believed to call invisibly around couples, protecting them from outside harm and ensuring that their love was anchored in faith rather than illusion. Beyond the water spirits, the Kongo were also known for the use of Nkisi Nkondi, powerful spiritual figures, often embedded with nails, blades, and other ritual objects. These Nkisi were not mere icons but contracts in physical form, binding individuals to promises enforced by the spiritual realm. In matters of love and fidelity, Nkisi Nkondi became arbiters of truth. Couples or families could swear oaths before these figures, calling upon the spirits to uphold fidelity or punish betrayal. A broken vow of love or faithfulness was not just a personal failure but a spiritual violation, inviting sickness, misfortune, or even death upon the oath breaker. Destiny was thus not left unguarded. Every promise, every covenant in love was sealed and watched over by powers greater than human will. These rituals reveal how Central African traditions viewed love and destiny as inherently sacred and enforceable. Love was not free-floating desire, it was law regulated by spiritual contracts that ensured balance in society. Marriage could not succeed without fidelity, and fidelity could not exist without accountability to the gods, spirits, and ancestors. Through Nkisi Nkondi, couples were reminded that their destinies were intertwined with honesty and loyalty, for a deceitful heart disrupted not only personal harmony but also communal peace. The guardianship of love and destiny did not rest solely with gods and spirits, however. In Kongo culture, women played a vital role as mediums and spiritual intercessors. These women, often trained from an early age, could channel the will of spirits, ancestors, and the powers of the river entities. When disputes arose in love, fidelity, or family obligations, it was frequently women mediums who were consulted to determine truth or to intercede for reconciliation. They carried authority not just as healers or diviners, but as channels through which life and death decisions were made. Their role was profound, for they embodied the link between human choices and divine decree, guiding communities in matters of both passion and faith. Through these women, the intangible became tangible. Spirits spoke, decisions were revealed, and destinies clarified. They were consulted not only for romantic unions, but also for matters of fertility, ancestral curses, or unexplained misfortune in marriage. In every case, they upheld the understanding that love and destiny were not isolated concerns of individuals, but the very fabric of community life. A harmonious marriage meant strong families, and strong families meant thriving societies. Thus, women mediums were the living custodians of communal balance, safeguarding both love and destiny through their spiritual authority. Together, the serpent spirits of the rivers, the iron-forged contracts of Nkisi Nkondi, and the guidance of women mediums created a spiritual ecosystem in which love and destiny were inseparable from accountability and divine order. Unlike Western notions that often separate romance from responsibility, the Kongo worldview integrated passion with cosmic law. Love was sacred covenant, fidelity was a spiritual contract, and destiny was guided by waters, serpents, and ancestral forces that saw beyond human deception. In this way, the Kongo and Central African traditions remind us that love is not only about the heart, it is about truth. It is about the willingness to align personal desire, with spiritual responsibility. And destiny, far from being abstract fate, is shaped in the choices and commitments made under the watchful eyes of spirits who hold humanity accountable. These traditions preserved a worldview where love was protected, destiny was guided, and both were enforced by powers greater than human will. In the Nile Valley, love and destiny were not only celebrated but enshrined in some of the most powerful goddesses of Egyptian cosmology. Hathor, radiant in her beauty and often depicted with the horns of a cow cradling the solar disk, was more than just the goddess of love, music, and joy. She was a force who embodied the essence of harmony in both human and cosmic life. Hathor was the patron of dance, celebration, and pleasure, but her influence reached far deeper. In childbirth, she was called upon as a divine midwife, ensuring that new life entered the world safely and in accordance with divine order. In marriage, she bestowed blessings that bound couples not only in affection, but also in destiny, making union sacred contracts upheld by the gods. The temples were filled with music and offerings of mirrors, perfumes, and flowers, all symbols of her power to nurture love, beauty, and renewal. For the Egyptians, Hathor was not a frivolous goddess of romance, but a divine guarantor of fertility, prosperity, and the continuation of life itself. Alongside Hathor stood Ma'at, one of the most profound goddesses in African spiritual thought. Ma'at was not simply a goddess, she was a principle, the very embodiment of truth, balance, and justice that held the universe together. Represented by the feather, Ma'at was invoked in the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the souls of the dead were judged against her standard of truth, but her significance extended beyond the afterlife. She was also the goddess of destiny in the present. For the Egyptians, destiny was not random, but woven into the moral and cosmic balance that Ma'at represented. Kings ruled by invoking Ma'at, marriages were sanctified under her principle of balance, and societies thrived only when her law of harmony was respected. Love, in this sense, was not merely passion, but an alignment with truth, and destiny was fulfilled only when one lived in accordance with her cosmic order. The combined roles of Hathor and Ma'at reveal the deep intertwining of love and destiny in Nile Valley thought. Hathor nurtured the intimate bonds of human life, romance, fertility, joy, and family, while Ma'at governed the broader order that gave those bonds meaning within the cosmic structure. Together, they created a vision of love that was joyous but also responsible, and a vision of destiny that was both personal and universal. Their influence extended far beyond Egypt, inspiring traditions across Africa that maintained a balance between passion and duty, joy and accountability, romance and destiny. It is no coincidence that many later African goddesses south of the Nile carried echoes of Hathor and Ma'at in their attributes. Hathor's joy, fertility, and blessings can be seen in Yoruba's Oshun, whose rivers flow with beauty, sweetness, and renewal. The justice and balance of Ma'at resonate with Allah of the Igbo, who guards morality and truth in human affairs, and with Asaseya of the Akan, who upholds fertility and ancestral order. The Nile Valley, as a cultural and spiritual crossroads, transmitted its goddesses' archetypes through trade, conquest, and shared memory, embedding them into the spiritual DNA of Africa. Thus, the principles of love and destiny that Hathor and Ma'at represented did not remain confined to Egypt, but became pan-African in influence. Hathor's songs of joy and Ma'at's feather of truth together remind us that love is not complete without harmony, and destiny is not fulfilled without justice. The Nile Valley civilizations placed women at the very heart of the sacred, showing that feminine power was not secondary, but foundational. By honoring these goddesses, Egyptians acknowledged that the most enduring wealth was not gold or empire, but the ability to live in truth, love with joy, and walk in harmony with the destiny woven by the gods. When millions of Africans were forced across the Atlantic during the transatlantic slave trade, they carried with them not only their bodies but their spirits, their gods, and their sacred ways of understanding love and destiny. Torn from their homelands, enslaved Africans preserved fragments of their traditions in whispers, songs, and rituals, often disguising their deities under the images of Catholic saints. Yet, beneath the imposed religions of the colonizers, the goddesses of Africa continue to breed, evolve, and guide their children in the new world. Among the most enduring were Oshun, Yemaya, and Erzuli, manifestations of the divine feminine that refused to be silenced. In the Caribbean, particularly in Haitian Vodou, the goddess Oshun was reborn as Erzuli Freda, the Elua of love, beauty, and luxury. Draped in silks and jewels, Erzuli embodied longing, romance, and the eternal human desire for tenderness in a world of suffering. She was not a goddess of naive affection, but a force that reminded her devotees that even amid brutality, beauty, and love were acts of resistance. In rituals, her songs carried the bittersweet notes of passion and pain, reminding those who called her name that love was both healing and transformative, a path to reclaiming dignity when everything else had been stripped away. Yemaya, the ocean mother, was carried most prominently into Candomblé in Brazil and Santeria in Cuba. She became the great mother of all, protector of children, nurturer of families, and embodiment of destiny flowing like the tides. Her waters were both womb and grave, a reminder of the cycles of life and death, beginnings and endings. In every wave, Yemaya promised continuity, survival, and renewal, offering her children solace in times of despair and strength to endure. Weddings, births, and family blessings often invoked her presence, ensuring that destiny unfolded under her maternal care. These goddesses survived not only in temples, but in the daily lives of the African diaspora. Songs, dances, and marriages continued to be blessed under their gaze, even when performed in secrecy. The rhythms of drums in Vodou ceremonies, the flowing dances of Candomblé, the offerings of honey, perfume, and flowers in Santeria all became living memories of Africa's sacred feminine. Weddings were not just unions of two individuals, but covenants upheld by the ancestors and sanctified by the goddesses of love and destiny. Music itself became an altar, carrying forward stories of Oshun's sweetness, Erzuli's longing, and Yemaya's eternal embrace. Through Vodou, Candomblé, and Santeria, the African goddesses of love and destiny endured slavery, colonialism, and forced conversion. They emerged not as broken remnants, but as powerful reminders that love was survival and destiny was reclamation. They wove themselves into the fabric of diaspora identity, ensuring that the sacred feminine remained alive in every prayer, every song, and every ritual. Love was never just a fleeting emotion to the ancients of Africa, and destiny was never left to chance. It was understood as a covenant, a sacred bond between the living, the ancestors, and the divine. Love-bound families sustained communities and ensured harmony with the gods, while destiny was a responsibility each soul carried, written before birth and unfolding with every choice. The goddesses of Africa were the keepers of these truths. They were not simply deities of romance or fertility, but guardians of balance, justice, and cosmic order. Oshun's sweetness, Allah's morality, Asaseya's nurturing strength, Hathor's joy, Ma'at's eternal harmony, and Yemaya's unending embrace each revealed that love and destiny are woven together as one fabric of existence. To honor them is to honor ourselves, our ancestors, and the spiritual codes that sustained civilizations long before foreign systems arrived. These goddesses were never erased. They were only hidden, waiting for those willing to listen again. Their whispers return through the rivers, the earth, the music, and the hearts of those who seek to reconnect with truth. So I ask you, which of these goddesses of love and destiny do you feel still whispers to the world today, which speaks most clearly to your own life, your family, or your sense of purpose? Share your thoughts below, for your reflections are part of keeping their memory alive. If this journey has moved you, honor their legacy by liking this video, subscribing for more, and joining a community that dares to remember. And before we close, I offer a prayer for you, the listener. May the river of Oshun bring sweetness into your life. May Allah keep your path just and true. May Yamaya embrace you in her waters of protection. May Maat steady your destiny with balance. And may your Ori, your inner head, always guide you toward fulfillment. Thank you for walking this path with me. May the goddesses bless you, and may your destiny unfold in light.